All right, final topic, my Malkin's moments. Some great Malkin's moments. First and foremost, I'm going to spend a good amount of time celebrating and extolling the efforts of the Las Vegas Aces. The women's NBA team won the WNBA Finals last night. They defeated the Connecticut Sun in 4 games to win their first ever NBA Finals. They win in 4 games. They won last night 78-71. It was the first major championship for a sports franchise in the city of Las Vegas. Yes, this is Mark Davis, the owner who owns the Las Vegas Raiders, who also owns the Las Vegas Aces. But to his credit, he hired Becky Hammon, who is proving to be, again, one of these kind of wonderkin head coaches. She became one of the first. She became, I think it was the first person in WNBA history, yes, to win a title in her first season as the head coach. Van Chancellor won the inaugural WNBA championship in 1997, but Becky Hammon became the first head coach to win in her inaugural season. Only 5 NBA rookie head coaches in the past 60 years have won their league's title. The most recent prior to this was Nick Nurse with the Toronto Raptors in 2019. We all remember that with Kawhi. The difference with that was he had already been a head coach at other destinations, other stops before Toronto. But again, this is a franchise in the Las Vegas Aces that didn't originate in Las Vegas. They were part of the Utah Stars for several years. In 1997, which was when the WNBA made its debut, the league, they were the Utah Stars. Then the team moved to San Antonio in 2003, which is where Becky Hammon thrived as a member with San Antonio. They actually made the finals. They appeared in the finals in 2008. And you go from heartbreak and agony to ecstasy and euphoria. This is an Aces team that lost in the WNBA Finals in 2020. They lost in Game 5 of the semifinals against the Phoenix Mercury in 2021. Last year, now they've come back to win the whole thing. A'ja Wilson, what a season she had. She was the regular season MVP, Defensive Player of the Year as well. And she wasn't even the finals MVP. That was Chelsea Gray. I'm going to touch on that stat in just a moment. But again, what's amazing is not only did they tie for the best regular season record and the number 1 seed, they got the number 1 seed in the playoffs. So they won the in-season Commissioner's Cup trophy. Again, A'ja Wilson won the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and was a first-team All-WNBA performer. Kelsey Plum was also in on those accolades as well. Hammon was Coach of the Year, and Jackie Young, the Aces guard, won Most Improved Player of the Year. So the franchise moved to Las Vegas in 2018, which was the same year that A'ja Wilson was drafted out of South Carolina, number 1. This is an Aces team that's built from the ground up. They've drafted 3 consecutive number 1 picks. Obviously, Plum was already the number 1 pick in 2017. And you have Young, who they took number 1 out of Notre Dame in 2019. So shout out to them. This was a really deep team. They really didn't stumble too much in the postseason. And anytime you can win your city your first WNBA championship and be a part of that sports town's championship lore, that's where legends are made. That's where legends are made. And speaking of legends, shout out to Chelsea Gray, who won the WNBA Finals MVP. Again, this is one of these rare instances where this is the 4th time in which a team that's won the WNBA championship had a different player win the regular season MVP on that team. So obviously this year we mentioned A'ja Wilson won the regular season MVP. Chelsea Gray won the WNBA Finals MVP. The 2000 Comets. Cheryl Swoops won the regular season MVP. Cynthia Cooper won the WNBA Finals MVP. 2016 with the LA Sparks, Nika Agumake won the regular season MVP. Candace Parker won the WNBA Finals MVP. And the most recent example prior to last year was in 2009. Alina Del Don won the regular season MVP, and Emma Mieseman won the WNBA Finals MVP. So shout out to Chelsea Gray. Great performance by her and this entire Las Vegas Aces team. A couple other Malkin's moments. Amon-Ra St. Brown. We all remember him, how emotional he was during Hard Knocks. He was listing every single player that was drafted ahead of him, not only from his position, but from his entire class. He's popping off this year. The USC receiver, also known as the Sun God. He tied an NFL record with at least 8 catches in 8 consecutive games in the NFL. He had 174 yards and 2 touchdowns yesterday in the Detroit Lions' 36-27 win over the Washington Commanders. I said this about the Detroit Lions this year. If you listen to me, I said which team was going to be the biggest surprise in the NFL. I said this was going to be the Detroit Lions. Now, I will admit, as much as I want to believe in my own conviction, am I 100% convinced they're going to make the playoffs? No, but damn it, I want to see them in the playoffs, in the wild card. I love the emotion that this team plays with. It would be an extremely heartwarming story. Dan Campbell, for all the cannibalism comments that he's made in his press conferences, man, I love the emotion that this guy has on the sidelines. I'd want to run through a brick wall for Dan Campbell. He might not be able to drop the best X's and O's, but but I'm sure he's a great orator in the locker room. I just love what he's made of. I really do. And I love to see the Detroit Lions being competitive. You can make an argument. They nearly beat the Philadelphia Eagles at home, and now they took down the Commanders. Maybe that's not saying much. I don't really care. Happy for the Detroit Lions and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think they're going to have a big year. I think they're going to have a big season. So speaking of a big season, a couple more Malkin's moments. The Los Angeles Dodgers have now won 101 games. They just swept the San Francisco Giants. But Saturday, when they won their 100th game of the season, what's amazing about it was this was not only the first team to reach 100 wins on the year, this was the fastest that the Dodgers in their franchise history had ever reached 100 wins out of the first 144 games. So this is the fastest pace that the organization has ever established, has ever set. And that's saying a lot because the Dodgers have had a lot of really, really good teams, but this might be the best iteration of them. And they're playing without Walker Buehler, who's done for the year with Tommy John. And they're already winning all these games, knocking on wood that they can continue it into the postseason, but an electric start and finish. They've been consistent literally from the get-go. So shout out to them. And finally, shout out to Carlos Alcaraz. I apologize to my tennis fans that didn't get a chance to hear me talk about the U.S. Open. I had a couple other broadcasts that I had to focus on, so I didn't do any shows while the U.S. Open was taking place, but I've been watching furiously. Carlos Alcaraz is amazing. He became just recently last week the youngest #1 player ever on the ATP Tour. At 19 years of age, he becomes the youngest player ever in the history of the ATP Tour to claim the #1 ranking in the world. He was absolutely sensational this U.S. Open. He's like a fiery, mouth-breathing Spanish dragon of a tennis player. He moves elegantly. He's extremely athletic. He's powerful. He's emotional. He's a fighter. And what it looked like when he was playing in the U.S. Open was he was like the matador and everyone else was the bull chasing after him, despite the fact that he was the raging young bull. And now he's ascended all the way to the top, and I'm happy for him, happy for the run that he's been on. And shout out to Carlos Alcaraz. That's all the time that I got for today. Thank you so much for joining me right here on Morning Joe every single Monday and Wednesday morning. I'm back 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 to 11 Central, and 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube page, Morning Joe, J-O, with Jonah Malkin on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at Jonah_Malkin or at morning_Joe. Follow me on Instagram, jmalk97, or TikTok, Jonah Malkin. Thanks so much. And as always, have a lovely rest of your morning.